Cool. So I think we're recording. I just wanted to say welcome, everyone. I know it's a small group of us, so I'll try to be as efficient as possible. And so welcome to our ASIS&T October general meeting. I hope you have all had a great week so far. Today, we'll be talking about the digital services pathway, such as like what it is, some class options, and then we'll be taking a look at a couple job openings in the field as well. So then you can get an idea of some qualifications that could be relevant. For our meetings for the past few months, we've been going down the list of the career pathways that the iSchool suggests to or to all students. So last month we did digital curation, and then this month will be digital services. And also we'll be talking about the informatics options as well, since we have Rana here, Rana, who joined our executive committee recently, and she'll be discussing the informatics options as well. So yeah, I just wanted to preface us with that. And so let me share my screen and we'll get going. Yeah, welcome to our digital services presentation. So what are digital services and what does this pathway actually look like? Well, it is basically literally what it sounds like. So to summarize, it's creating and maintaining digital collections. It can also include cybersecurity, digital privacy, data analytics, and big data. And also a significant portion, or an important, I should say, aspect of this career is accurately representing cultural heritage in digital environments. This has been something that has been a topic for Indigenous populations. And so I just wanted to include that in there because I feel like it's something that should be discussed and should definitely be at the forefront of our minds when we're talking about digital environments as well. I'm not going to go too deep into it. However, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out. So yeah, in the end, digital services, it's a lot of things, as the name implies. It's a very comprehensive topic, and it also overlaps with other pathways as well. So it can include UX design, project management, knowledge about open source resources. And so the main theme, as you can imagine, is that a professional working in digital services is very proficient in a digital environment and may need to be able to balance the technical aspects of the career with certain management skills as well. So let me pull up the chat really quick, and I'm going to copy a link in here. So I'm sure everyone's probably pretty familiar with the iSchool pathways website, where they kind of provide details about each of the pathways. And so I just copied and pasted the link in the chat. And so we're going to discuss the classes. In terms of classes that are recommended by the iSchool, the class selection is as widespread as the topic, right? So I listed some of the classes here. On top are the foundation classes. So these are classes that the iSchool recommends as part of the core curriculum for this pathway. There are quite a few classes though, compared to other pathways. And so you won't be able to take them all, obviously, but there are quite a few classes to choose from. And so there are topics such as database management, cybersecurity, metadata, project management again, et cetera. And then there are also the recommended courses, which are on the bottom line. And these include vocabulary design, web usability, and enterprise content management and digital preservation. And so these are all terms that kind of overlap with a bunch of the classes. I mean, the topics are very vast, but you'll see the word digital, obviously, preservation, metadata, usability, privacy, and those kind of terms within the course descriptions. And so there are a few areas in digital services. There's web design and usability, digital assets management, and then there's information and communication technology. And so within those categories, there are more specific classes you can take if you want to dive further into those topics. And I think the website does a really good job of kind of splitting out those topics and then listing all the classes that you can take. So there are many to choose from. So the digital services pathway is really as technical as you want to take it. And then there are many courses offered in general. As you're deciding on classes within this pathway, it would be helpful to check when the courses are offered, since there are a lot of choices and they're likely not offered every semester, as I'm sure a lot of us who've been in the program for a while have experienced, where maybe a specific class that you're looking for is not offered in certain semesters. So it's good to get ahead of that, especially when you have so many classes you can choose from. So if you want to see the entire list of the foundation and the recommended courses, as well as more information about the pathway, you can go to that link in the chat, or you can definitely ask. So now for job opening, we've kind of made it a trend in our meetings to go over, a few job postings, just so then people can get an idea of what type of jobs can you actually get in these pathways. Sometimes with certain pathways, it's kind of hard to tell like what would be included, or if you were taking like very specific classes in that pathway, like what is actually relevant in that field. And so digital services, fortunately, is a very broad topic. There are quite a few jobs in this field: metadata librarian, digital services librarians, or digital collections librarian. So anyway, we'll be looking at a couple, but again, the website has a list of like what kind of professions you can go into, or common professional, titles. And so I happen to choose 2 job opportunities that are in academic libraries, because there seem to be a lot of opportunities in academic libraries right now in general. However, there are corporate opportunities as well. And I just wanted to choose organizations that people were familiar with. And so the first one is actually UC Irvine. And I'm going to copy and paste the link here. This is the Electronic Resources and Metadata Law Librarian, which electronic resources librarian or metadata librarian are very common titles. So I thought this job was interesting because it is actually specific to the School of Law at UCI. And so the position description is very interesting and includes qualifications and certain topics. And actually, I'll just share the screen that has hopefully you can see my webpage. This is the Electronic Resources and Metadata Law Librarian posting. The position description is very interesting and includes qualifications in certain topics, such as knowledge of metadata, databases, archival resources, management of digital assets, and really just overall troubleshooting and working in an academic environment, as most of these positions are. And also, interestingly, it seems the only academic or professional background requirement is a master's or an advanced degree, which you can see here. And also working with Microsoft Office tools, working in an academic environment. But I don't believe it requires like years of experience, which is nice and refreshing to see that a lot of these positions, they do accept like entry level or people with entry level experience, basic or lack of experience. And so really the basic qualifications is having that master's degree or an equivalent, advanced degree. So yeah, I just wanted to show this one as kind of like an entry level position that may interest some people. I know this is law specifically. I don't think it requires necessarily having law knowledge, although it's probably helpful because I don't think they listed in there. But anyway, it was opened like a couple months ago. I think it's still open as of today, and they have it open for a while. So as we'll see with the next opening as well, it is kind of like a specialized field, having the technical knowledge, but also the librarian knowledge as well. And so the second one we're going to look at, I'm sure you could still see my screen, is through Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And this is the Digital Initiatives and Engagement Librarian. And let me I'll post the link after. So for the second job opportunity, this is the Digital Initiatives and Engagement Librarian, which requires 3 years of experience and also knowledge in digital platforms and LMS or learning management systems, such as Canvas. In their like qualifications or like preferred qualifications, being familiar with social media, CSS, and LibGuides is also listed. In terms of like other factors as well, they do mention being familiar with website management and also having knowledge in privacy and accessibility. So those are topics that the iSchool does have classes on specifically. And so I also wanted to mention that this position has been open for a while, I think since like May, and they've been looking for someone for a while. So, if you have a few years of experience, or maybe even if you don't, but you do have knowledge through other career paths, not necessarily in librarianship, but, are familiar with these programs, I would say it doesn't hurt to apply. So yeah, I just wanted to go over a couple job openings that were attainable within the early part of a digital services career, especially, if you don't have the relevant experience, and who knows, it may be worth applying to anyway. So let me go back to my presentation. So yeah, that's all I really have for the presentation. I wanted to keep it short just because the digital services pathway is so broad. I didn't want to cover necessarily all the topics if, people weren't interested in going over every single aspect of it, because it'd probably be super boring. So if you have any questions or if you want to see if there are, others interested in the pathway, I definitely welcome people to type in the chat or feel free to talk. No pressure though. I mean, we try to keep our meetings very low pressure. We don't want to make people feel like they have to talk out loud. So if you feel more comfortable chatting or just lurking, that's fine too.